I'ma keep it a bean. Stick to the script, every scene. These from last year, but they clean. Say to say, I'ma take something else, but it's winning team. Charlie Sheen, fam gang, the regime. I'm from Potty Green.
This been overdue forever. Asked me when it was dropping, said never. Should've made you cut the feather, but I designed it Freemason Margiela.
What's good, Shellitronnn here, the most woke, no joke, and I'm back again with a brand new video. And today, I want to talk about a question that I think is on the minds of a lot of different Panthers fans. And that question is, should the Panthers consider trading up from the number 16 pick to maybe in the top 10 in order to pick up a really elite player? Should they fall to, maybe around number 9, number 8, maybe even number 7? I'm doing this topic because the Panthers just posted on their website a segment from an NFL Network show that talked about how it's likely that the Panthers will trade up from number 16 to the 8th pick with the Lions in order to pick up Montez Sweat. So my question is, like I just said, should the Panthers trade up from 16 to 8 to pick up Montez Sweat, or even any other player that may fall to number 8th pick in the draft? At first, I had an answer for this. Then I thought to myself, let me do some actual research and actually be able to give an educated answer based off research and not based off, feelings and whatnot. So I went to 2 different sources for 2 different types of information regarding draft picks in the first round and trading and whatnot. The first source is from nationalfootballpost.com. The long form article, which you can find in the description below, covers a 10-year period of first round picks and first round pick trades. What was found was that over the last 10 years, there's been 123 first round picks, and of those 123 picks, 73 have been traded back. That's a lot of picks when you think about it. 59% of all first round picks over the last 10 years have been traded. That is a big number, which shows me that, although first round picks are valuable, teams are more likely to value getting extra picks than they are to, keep their own picks in the first round. And of those 73 picks that were traded in the first round, 16 were defensive linemen. That comes out to be about 23% of all the picks, which is also the highest of any position group in the NFL. And what was also very interesting to find out was that the second highest wasn't even quarterbacks. Quarterbacks ranked 3rd to wide receivers. And the last interesting fact that I found from this source is that over the past 10 years, the Panthers have only been involved in 3 first round trades, and that's tied for 19th in the league. There are teams, I think the Broncos have been involved in 13 first round trades. Teams have been to 11 and 12. I think the Titans are the only team in the league who haven't been involved in a first round trade over the past 10 years. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. The information as a whole from this first source, how often teams do trade away their first round picks. How I think it was pretty obvious that defensive linemen are probably going to be the most sought after position to trade up for. But seeing how little the Panthers have been involved in first round trades over the past 10 years is, maybe a little bit indicative of it possibly not happening. But that first source, like I said, is in the description below. Check it out yourself. There's a lot of great information. I've talked about maybe less than 10% what was found on that site. There's a lot of really cool information there. The second source I used was ProSportsTransactions.com, and this is a very, very informative site. It shows all the draft trades in the NFL, and actually every sport, but focus on NFL here, obviously, from every single year. And my first thought was to use the last 5 years of data, but when I looked at it, there weren't very many comparable trades in 2014 and 15. So I decided to go back until I found 5 good years of comparable trades. And it ended up working out that the 5th year of a comparable trade to what's being proposed here, a team going from 16 to 8, ends up being in 2011. And that's a really good point of reference because 2011 is when the team got both Cam Newton and Coach Ron Rivera. So it's like we can encapsulate this data as the Cam and Ron era, which I think is that fits pretty well. And I'll work backwards from 2018 to 2011. So in 2018, the Raiders traded the 10th overall pick to the Cardinals for pick number 15, pick number 79, which is in the 3rd round, and pick number 152, which is in the 5th. So to move up 5 spots from 15 to 10, it cost a 1st, 3rd, and a 5th. Okay, in 2017, the Bills traded the 10th overall pick to the Chiefs for the 27th pick, the 91st pick in the 3rd round, and a 2018 first. It's not the most comparable, but it really does give a good reference point as to just how valuable first round picks are. And the same holds true for next year I'm going to do, which is 2016. The Dolphins traded the 8th pick overall in the draft to the Eagles for Byron Maxwell, Kiko Alonso, and the 13th overall pick. So the trade from 13 to 8, 2 pretty decent players who were, at kind of confusing times in their career. They were both still considered good players, but not quite at their height, the peak of their career. Byron obviously didn't have the best career when he went to the Dolphins, but he was all right. He was also still, considered a pretty good player. Kiko was in a kind of weird situation where he wasn't being used in the correct kind of scheme, so his stats and his production weren't really fitting what he really could have done. Coach is trying to make a guy do things that he wasn't really built for. Going and get to guys' strength to fit your scheme, that doesn't really work out all that well. In 2013, the Bills traded the 8th pick and their 3rd round pick, number 71, to the Rams for the 16th pick in the draft, number 46 in the 2nd round, the 78th pick in the draft, round 3, and the 222nd pick in the draft, round 7. This is probably the closest one of all of the examples I'm going to give here because it's obviously a team going from 16 to 8. Trading 1st and 3rds and losing a 2nd and a 7th is actually a pretty interesting thought process. I'll get to that here in a second. 2012, there weren't any comparable drafts. In 2011, the Redskins traded the 10th pick overall in the draft for the Jags' 16th overall pick and the 49th overall pick in the 2nd round. So trading up 6 spots for a 1st and a 2nd is quite a bit to me. In 2011, there must have been a really, I'm not sure who they picked there, but wow. A 1st and a 2nd to move up 6 picks, that is actually ridiculous to me. But let's go ahead and focus on 2013 here. The Bills trading a 1st pick, a 3rd pick for the Rams' 16th, 46th, 78th, and then, kind of a throwaway 7th round pick. That's very interesting. Honestly, for me, before I started doing this research, I was leaning very heavily to the side of don't trade that pick. We don't really need to trade anything, any assets. There will be some good players at number 16, even if it's not Montez Sweat. Brian Burns might fall. Cleveland Ferrell is pretty likely to be there at 16. They're not Montez Sweat, but they are still culture-changing defensive ends that we can work in really well. But when I thought about it right here, trading 1st and 3rds and then giving up our 2nd, maybe a 6th this year, but I would maybe try to, give up a 6th or 7th for next year's draft and not give up our 6th in this year's draft. If this right here was the proposed trade between the Lions and the Panthers, I actually might be willing to go with it. We do need that 2nd round pick, but if it's for Montez Sweat and we really only lose a 2nd round pick and we can still keep both 3rds, I'm actually kind of okay with that. And I know what you're going to comment. I know what the comments are going to say if I just left it at that. The next thing you're going to say is, well, what we can do is both those 3rds still, we can trade back up into the 2nd. But if we did that, I would be 100% out. It's not a 50-50 for me. I would be 0% on board with that because then you're saying that Montez Sweat is worth only having really 2, maybe 3 valuable picks before round 6. And that cannot happen. And what I mean is this. Obviously, that 1st trade would make us lose our 2nd round pick in the draft. But trading up to get back into the 2nd round would take way too much draft capital. It might take a 3rd, 5th, and 6th, honestly, to get back into the middle of the 2nd. I don't think that going up that high, going back up that far, would really be an asset for the team, to be honest with you, because it would give us what? We'd have Montez Sweat, 1 2nd round pick, maybe a 3rd, and then our next pick will be a 6th round pick. So only 3 good positions to be really had there, and 1 being a 3rd round pick, and then our last pick being in the 6th round, where we maybe wouldn't even get a position that we really need. It might actually be a 4th round pick, but the point is the team has too many needs at starter positions. It's not like we have only 1 or 2 spots that need starters. There's a defensive end, there's corner, there's safety, maybe even an offensive lineman. And when you think about, 4th and 5th and 6th round picks, those aren't going to really be starter level guys. Now, there are guys who will be available in the 5th round. A guy who's going to be a corner, a nickel corner, who I think will be really good for the team. But I think as a general rule, giving up that many picks just for the idea of having another 2nd round pick, I think we can find what we need with 2 3rds. Giving up all that draft capital just for Montez Sweat and then come back and get a 2nd round pick again just would not work for us for the needs that we have. And teams would know that we are desperate to get back in the 2nd, and they would probably raise their price. Draft picks are a seller's market. Teams know just how valuable draft picks are. And if they see you've already lost one of your draft picks, and they know you have several needs at positions where you need actual starters, they're going to say, look, you can get this pick right here for this price that we want, or, you can, stay down there where you are and maybe get developmental guys and hope that they can start for your team. But it looks to me like you need us way more than we need you. And if you really want to find a starter guy at maybe a slot corner, maybe safety, maybe on your O-line, because isn't your quarterback just coming off of an injury for 2 years straight? I mean, if you want to find an O-lineman to protect him and you want to come to us for our pick, then you're going to have to pay our price. But, I mean, hey, wait, hold up. Didn't your defense give up so many passing yards last year? Do you have a starting free safety? How's your nickel corner looking? Is your slot corner looking all right? I mean, look, it sounds to me like you have a lot of needs, and we have what you need here. So if you really, really want it, prove it to us, and teams will do that. These GMs are ruthless. These guys know how the game works, and when you have the product that people want, you can set the market. And I don't think it's going to be a net positive for us to both trade up to get Montez Sweat and then trade up again to try to get back in the second round. So to wrap this all up, I would kind of be okay with the team trading up for Montez Sweat. Although I do think there's going to be some really good talent that falls to number 16. This is a deep draft. As long as it's a first round pick, I think we will find a really good player on the edge. But the thought of trading up twice is a no-go for me. 0%. I would not do it. And I think it'd be a very bad idea because we have too many holes and the price to come back up again will be way too high for us. But that's how I feel about it. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like the idea of trading up 8 spots to get Montez Sweat? What do you think it'll take? Do you think there's going to be some good talent that's going to fall down to number 16 for us? And what are your thoughts of trading up for Montez Sweat and then trying to trade back up again into the second or very, very early third round using that draft capital? Let me know all that in the comments below. And one last thing before I go, if you allow me to maybe flex for half a second. By now, you probably heard me talk about the petition that's linked in the pinned comment below. And you've seen these videos a lot. You've seen to yourself, okay, this guy is just going to keep talking about this petition, man. But this content right here, this kind of deep analytical research, this kind of dedication to making sure I can get every single detail and giving each topic its due diligence is the kind of thing that you will not find anywhere else. And I don't mean anywhere else on YouTube. I mean literally anywhere else. Interpret that how you will, but if you don't believe me, look for it. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that I think that this is the kind of channel that would really benefit, and it will be kind of a two-way street of benefits for both us and the Panthers if we were to, you know, partner up, maybe get a sponsorship. So if you want to support the channel, if you dig this kind of content and you like this kind of deep kind of content that you're getting here, please consider signing that petition. It takes all of 10 seconds. Just gotta type your name, click the button, you're in and you're out. It would mean a lot to me. And as always, you already know to do that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Been told y'all I been the man. Been told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.